Welcome in, everybody, to another deep dive with us. Today, we are looking into the world of natural resources consultants with some seriously awesome guides from RoleCatcher.
We've got their career guide and their interview guide, both focused specifically on natural resources consultants. So we're going to be digging into both today.
I am really excited to jump into this. I love being outdoors, and I think I'm pretty good at making sure I'm always respecting the environment when I'm out there. But I don't really know what it takes to actually advise companies and governments on this stuff.
Well, you've got the passion for it, which is great, and that definitely comes through in an interview. But like you said, there's so much more to it than just loving the environment, and that's what we're going to help uncover today.
So before we get into the super nitty-gritty of the interview prep, can you give us just a broad overview of what these consultants actually do?
Yeah, so like you said, they're advising companies and governments, but it's really about finding a balance. They need to figure out how to use our natural resources, things like water, forests, minerals, but do it in a way that's sustainable and doesn't completely wreck the environment.
Makes sense. So they're kind of like the negotiators between the needs of industry and the health of our planet.
Exactly. One day they might be out in the field taking samples, assessing the impact of a project, and the next they might be back in the office crunching numbers, writing reports, or presenting their findings to like a board of directors.
Wow. So it's a pretty diverse role. You get the best of both worlds out in nature and in the office. I guess you'd have to be pretty comfortable doing both.
For sure. And that's something you want to showcase in an interview, that you're adaptable and you can handle different environments and tasks. Okay, so you ready to jump into some of these interview questions from RoleCatcher's interview guide?
Hit me with it.
All right, the first one is a pretty standard opener. It asks, can you describe your experience working with government agencies and regulations related to natural resources?
Okay, that seems pretty straightforward. You just tell them about any experience you have working with, I don't know, like the Environmental Protection Agency or the Forest Service, right?
Yeah, you definitely want to mention specific agencies, but don't just list them off. Think about projects you've worked on where you had to actually navigate those regulations. Did you have to get permits? Were there specific environmental assessments you had to conduct? Give concrete examples that show you understand how these agencies and regulations impact real-world projects.
So it's more about showing how you've applied your knowledge of the regulations, not just that you know they exist. That makes sense. And this is where RoleCatcher's AI can really help, right? I mean, their AI can analyze the job description and tell you exactly which agencies and regulations are most relevant to that specific role.
Exactly. That way you can tailor your answer to exactly what the employer is looking for.
That is so helpful. All right, so moving on to question number 2, we've got, how do you stay current with changes and developments in the natural resources industry?
Another seemingly simple question, but this one's about showing that you're proactive and genuinely passionate about this field.
So don't just say you read industry journals. What else could you mention?
Think about things like webinars or conferences or even online forums. Do you have any subscriptions to relevant publications? Have you taken any courses to enhance your skills?
So it's about showing that you're actively seeking out information and constantly learning. And I bet RoleCatcher can suggest relevant resources based on the job description, too.
You know it. Their AI can point you to the right industry, publications, organizations, even experts to follow, so you're focusing on the areas that really matter to potential employers.
Wow, it's like having a personalized research assistant. All right, let's move on to question number 3. This one says, can you provide an example of a challenging natural resources project you have worked on and how you overcame obstacles during the project?
Okay, so now we're getting into storytelling mode. This is your chance to highlight your problem-solving skills. Pick a project that was genuinely tough, where you had to really think outside the box.
So how do I structure my answer? Do I just jump right into the obstacle, or should I give some context first?
Definitely give some context. Briefly describe the project, what your role was, and then dive into the specific challenge. Explain how you analyzed the problem, what strategies you considered, and don't be afraid to talk about setbacks. It shows you're willing to learn from your mistakes.
Right. It's not about pretending you're perfect. It's about showing how you handle those tough situations and come out stronger on the other side.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher's AI can help here too by suggesting what skills or qualities to emphasize based on the job description.
That's awesome. All right, question number 4 asks, how do you balance the needs of clients with the need to protect natural resources and the environment? This feels tricky, like you could easily say the wrong thing.
Yeah, this is definitely one where you need to be careful, but it's a really important question that shows your understanding of the ethical considerations in this field.
So how do I answer this without sounding preachy or like I'm going to lecture them about saving the planet?
Focus on practical examples from your experience. Have you ever had to compromise on a project to minimize environmental impact? Or maybe you successfully advocated for a more sustainable approach that also met the client's needs.
So it's about showing that you can find solutions that work for everyone, not just taking sides. And again, I'm assuming RoleCatcher's AI can help with this one too.
You bet. It can analyze the company's mission statement and other publicly available info to see how they talk about sustainability. Then you can use that language in your answer to show you understand their values and how you'd fit in with their culture.
And that AI is seriously impressive. All right, moving on to question number 5. We've got, how do you approach stakeholder engagement and public consultation in natural resources projects?
Okay, this one's all about your communication and collaboration skills. You need to show that you can build relationships, facilitate dialogue, and deal with different perspectives, sometimes conflicting ones.
So it's not just about being a good speaker, it's about being able to bring people together and find common ground, right?
Right. Think about your experience conducting stakeholder meetings, workshops, even just one-on-one interactions. Did you ever have to deal with disagreements or concerns? How did you address them? Did you find a way to make everyone feel heard?
So storytelling is key here again, with specific examples of how I've successfully navigated those complex stakeholder dynamics. And would RoleCatcher's AI be able to suggest specific engagement techniques or communication skills I should highlight based on the job description?
You're catching on. Yeah, their AI can pick up on keywords related to communication, collaboration, conflict resolution, all that good stuff. And then you can use those keywords in your answer to show you've got the skills they're looking for.
This is all incredibly useful. Phew, we've covered a lot already. Maybe we should take a quick break here and come back to tackle the remaining interview questions in the next part of our deep dive. And we are back for part 2 of our deep dive into the world of natural resources consultants. I'm ready to tackle some more of those interview questions.
All right, let's get right back into it. The next few questions are getting a little more into the technical skills that you need for this job.
Perfect. Let's jump into it with question number 6. This one asks, can you describe your experience with environmental impact assessments, EIAs, and how you approach these assessments?
Okay, so this one is getting into the core of responsible resource management. You've got to know about EIAs. They're super important for figuring out what the potential environmental risks are for a project and then figuring out how to minimize those risks.
Right, so it's all about making sure that development happens in a way that doesn't completely destroy the environment. So what kind of things should I highlight when I'm answering this question?
Definitely talk about the different methodologies that you're familiar with. Have you done any baseline studies or modeled the potential impacts? And have you ever been involved in the public consultation side of an EIA? These are the kinds of experiences that show you really know your stuff.
So it's not just about knowing what an EIA is. It's about showing that you've actually participated in the process. And I'm guessing it would be good to mention any relevant software or tools that I've used.
Totally. Like if you're comfortable using industry standard software for data analysis or modeling or even mapping, that shows that you are up to date and ready to go from day one.
And just to reiterate, RoleCatcher's AI can help tailor my response to this question, right?
Absolutely. You can plug in the job description and it will tell you exactly what skills, methodologies, software, all that you should focus on to match what the employer is looking for.
That is seriously awesome. All right, let's look at question number 7. It asks, how do you approach natural resources management planning, and what are some of the key considerations you take into account?
Okay, so this is your chance to show that you're a big picture thinker. You can develop plans that are comprehensive and, most importantly, sustainable.
So how should I structure my answer to this one? Where do I even begin?
First, I would outline your general approach to management planning. What are your priorities? Do you focus on getting the stakeholders involved, making decisions based on data? Maybe you lean towards using adaptive management strategies and then, go into those specifics. What are the considerations that you always keep in mind? Talk about the ecological impacts, of course, but also the social and economic factors, and don't forget about the regulatory requirements.
It sounds like this is a chance to show that I understand that natural resource management isn't just about the environment. It's about finding a balance between all these different, sometimes competing interests.
You got it. And it's about showing that you can consider different perspectives and make decisions that are in the best interest of everyone involved.
And I imagine it's helpful to have some specific examples of successful management plans that I've worked on.
Absolutely. Like if you've been involved in plans that led to a healthier ecosystem or found ways to extract resources sustainably or even help to resolve conflicts, all of that is gold.
Got it. Stories are key. And I'm
Yeah.
guessing, I know I keep asking this, but it's just so cool. But I'm guessing RoleCatcher can help with this question too.
Yep. RoleCatcher can analyze that job description and point out which considerations are most important to this specific employer. So maybe it's regulatory compliance or community engagement or certain environmental concerns that they're really focused on. Then, boom, you can tailor your answer to match those priorities.
Man, that AI is like a cheat code for job hunting.
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready for the last interview question from RoleCatcher's Guide?
Hit me with it.
Okay, here it is. Can you describe your experience with GIS and how you've used it in your work as a natural resources consultant?
GIS. This is becoming a must-have in the field. It's so powerful for visualizing data and then analyzing it and managing all this spatial data that's so essential for natural resources consulting.
Right, GIS is basically like Google Maps on steroids for environmental work. So what if I'm not that experienced with GIS? Should I just avoid this question altogether?
No, don't avoid it. Just be honest. If you're still learning, say that. And emphasize how eager you are to improve your GIS skills. Think about any related skills you have, data analysis, cartography, anything that shows you can think spatially.
Good point. It's all about showing your potential. And I bet you probably know what I'm going to say. RoleCatcher can help with this too.
Bingo. Their AI can point you to GIS training resources or suggest online courses that would be helpful. It can even help you figure out how to highlight those transferable skills that prove you can quickly become a GIS pro.
Okay, that is super helpful. So we've talked about all 8 interview questions from RoleCatcher's interview guide, but we haven't really touched on their career guide.
Oh, that's right. Well, their career guide is packed with valuable info about the profession itself. It goes into things like what the typical work environments are, what you can expect to earn, the pros and cons of the job, and even potential career paths.
It sounds like it's a great resource for anyone who is just starting to explore this field or maybe even thinking about making a career switch.
Totally. It gives you a really realistic picture of what it's actually like to be a natural resources consultant. It's not all sunshine and roses. There are definitely challenges.
Right, but there are also rewards. So the career guide helps you figure out if this is the right path for you, and if it is, it gives you the tools to succeed.
Exactly. All right, so we've talked a lot about the interview prep, but we should circle back to RoleCatcher as a whole. It's not just about interview prep, it's about the entire job search process.
I was just going to say that. So it can help you refine your CV, write cover letters that actually stand out, and even practice for other interview questions beyond the ones we talked about today. It's like having a personal career coach right in your pocket.
And speaking of technology, as we wrap up this part of the deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought to chew on.
All right, hit us with that thought-provoking question.
Think about this. As technology gets more and more advanced, the role of a natural resources consultant is bound to change. What do you think those changes are going to look like?
That is an excellent question. Things like remote sensing and artificial intelligence and big data analytics, they're all going to have a huge impact on this field. Lots to think about. And with that, we are wrapping up part 2 of our deep dive. And we are back for the final part of our deep dive into what it takes to become a natural resources consultant.
We've really dug into a lot this episode.
Oh, right. We've gone over the responsibilities, tackled those interview questions, but you know what really stands out to me?
What's that?
It just seems like you need such a wide range of skills to really be successful in this career.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like, yeah, I got to be passionate about the environment that's a given. But you also need to be a good communicator, a problem solver, know how to analyze data, heck, even be a little bit of a diplomat at times.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's a really interdisciplinary field. You need the scientific knowledge, you need the technical skills, and you definitely need those people skills too.
I mean, think about it. You're out there trying to understand these complex ecosystems, and then you have to be able to explain it all, make sense of the data, navigate all the regulations, and then on top of that, you got to work with all these different stakeholders who might have totally different perspectives.
It's a lot to juggle, but that's part of what makes it so interesting, right?
For sure. I mean, it's like you're detective, right? Uncovering how humans are impacting the environment. But then you also got to be a strategist, coming up with solutions that both protect the planet and allow for responsible use of resources.
It's a balancing act, for sure. And, with all the focus on sustainability these days and the environmental challenges that we're facing, the role of a natural resource consultant is only going to become more important.
No doubt about it. Just imagine you could actually help companies and governments make decisions that protect our planet for the future.
And that's a pretty amazing thing to be a part of.
Absolutely. Now, before we sign off completely, I want to give one last shout out to RoleCatcher and their incredible AI platform.
Yes. It's not just about nailing those interviews, it's about the whole job search journey.
Exactly. They can help you polish up your CV, make sure your cover letter is tailored to each specific job you apply for, and just give you the tools and support that you need to succeed in this competitive field.
They really leverage the power of technology to help you showcase your skills, your passion, and your potential to make a difference.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. We've explored the responsibilities, the challenges, the rewards, and the incredible impact that natural resources consultants can have on the world.
And if you're out there feeling inspired, don't be afraid to embrace this challenge. Harness the power of knowledge, use those awesome tech tools, and carve out a career path that not only fulfills you personally, but also contributes to a healthier, more sustainable future for everyone.
What a fantastic message to end on. So thank you everyone for joining us on this deep dive into the world of natural resources consultants. We hope you've enjoyed the journey and learned a few things along the way. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.